Hey guys, okay, before I start talking to you about the time that doctors told me I need to stop lifting, I want to ask the question, should I grow out my beard again? It's been years, it's been ages, probably a good 5 years since having a big, proper, full beard. What do you think? Let me know in the comments or just comment here. But today guys, I want to talk about the fact that injuries are going to happen and they shouldn't prevent you from pursuing your body and your physique goals. Back in 2013, back in 2013, I suffered a spine fracture. Crazy, I know. A vertebral fracture to L3, I believe it was, if memory serves. And it was completely confusing. It happened, believe it or not, it happened during a deadlift session where I was doing a submaximal lift and I felt a crunch. This is when I was powerlifting competitively. I compared to an international standard. I used to be all right. I competed in the IPF. I used to be pretty good actually for a junior, especially. Like not really by today's standards. Like you kids now are freaks, absolute freaks. But I was pretty good for then. I set some records, so it wasn't bad. But really, really strange. Like you can't fracture a spine deadlifting, or at least that's kind of what the common consensus was. So when I went to hospital, they obviously did some x-rays to see the extent of the damage. And basically what had happened was they discovered that I have these bony protrusions on my spine, these nodes, they called them, I think it was Shomes' nodes, if memory serves. But basically it's bony protrusions, which are a genetically predisposed condition, which a very small percentage of the population have, So what these nodes do is they accelerate the disc degeneration within the spine. So each vertebrae obviously is separated by discs, so you have nice little cushioning, and my discs were like Pringles because of these bony protrusions that existed on my spine, and it completely wore them down. And so my spine health, looking at discs, is that of like a 90-year-old man. This was at the age of 23, So what happened was, I'm doing a deadlift. I think it was like a 300 kilo block pull or something like that, if memory serves. And the smallest amount of flexion, caused this vertebrae to crunch down on the one beneath it. Really bad. So it crunched, it literally crumbled my spine, which was awful. And I was in bits. I was in absolute agony. So, went to hospital, painkillers to the nines, to alleviate the pain. I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't get comfortable, it was awful. So huge amounts of painkillers, various different ones, naproxen, codeine, you name it, ibuprofen, paracetamol, all of the above. And after a few days, I was like, what the hell am I gonna do? I was distraught. My powerlifting was my passion. I loved it. It was everything to me. But I couldn't do anything. I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit, couldn't get comfy. So I had a follow-up with a spine specialist, and they reviewed my x-rays and MRIs, they did as well. And I remember this spine specialist in his office looking at me and saying, mate, you're not gonna lift anymore. Your back is a mess, you're done. And I was by myself. I was 23 at the time, so fairly young. And you have to remember, guys, I studied sports psych at uni. I joined a powerlifting team at uni. All my social group was powerlifting. All my friends were powerlifting related. I was close with my coaches. I coached powerlifting myself to my clients. I lived it. I embodied powerlifting. It was everything to me. And so for a surgeon to look at me and say, mate, your lifting days are done, was absolutely heartbreaking. It was brutal. So I remember going back to my car and genuinely just burst into tears. I called my mum. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. I called my mum. I was absolutely distraught, and I just had no words. Just been told that the one thing that I'm most passionate about, was something that I can no longer do. And I had to think about alternatives. I had to rediscover my identity. I had to really think about what my next move was, because one thing that I couldn't do was stay in this state of despair. I had two options: figure out another outlet, that I can get behind, or just collapse into a state of despair and just spiral out of control. Okay, 2 options. You've always got 2 options. So this is actually how I got into my physique transformation, my bodybuilding phase of my life. Because what I learned was I could still train, I could still work in a manner which was predictable, cautious, isolated, calculated, controlled, and build up muscle around my back and build up muscle around the rest of my body and work around this awful physical constraint. I could have listened to that surgeon who, in his completely arrogant, distastefully unaware, stupid approach, just said to me, mate, you're done with lifting, no more lifting for you. I could have taken his words as gospel, but I refused. I absolutely refused to believe it because I could not accept that reality. And so, with a bit of movement, a lot of reading around the subject, a lot of people suggesting they'd encountered similar things, I realized that there was a way for me to train. I had to just adapt my methodologies. I had to be careful with spine flexion. I had to be careful with axial loading. I had to be careful to actually build up more my abdominal strength, my glute strength, and my rectus spinae strength. I, over time, built enough tissue and mastered movement in a manner which enabled me to train effectively enough to build lean muscle tissue. And so one thing that I have now as a result of this whole situation that I was exposed to is a sensitivity to posture, a sensitivity to overcoming injuries. And since that injury, I've encountered so many injuries which would put so many people off. But I've realized that nothing was as bad as that, and I got through that, and I can get through anything. And on that subject, I really do believe that in life, whatever goal you have, the measure of how much you want it, the measure of how important it is to you, is the obstacle. It's directly correlated to the measure, okay, to the extent, to the magnitude of the obstacle that you are willing to overcome. You know, if you're someone who wants to get in great shape, but you have a bad wrist one day, for whatever reason, maybe you fell over or something, and you sprained your wrist, and you call off an entire 2 weeks of gym-based training because you hurt your wrist, an entire training week or 2 weeks, you don't want it. You know, you should be in there training legs. You should be in there training cardio. You should be in there sticking to your diet. You should be in there working on your mobility, your flexibility. Like, there's always a workaround. Unless you are completely disabled, okay, in the literal sense, if you cannot move, then there's always something that you can do. And there's always a workaround. It's that age-old saying, if there is a will, there is a way. So subsequently, I've developed a sensitivity for finding ways to work around injuries. Since then, I tore a quad, I tore a hamstring, I strained a pec, I completely ruptured my Achilles tendon. I suffered countless strains and aches and pains over the years, some worse than others. Tore a tricep, that was horrific. That's still giving me grief today, if I'm honest, but I work around it. And it's important for you guys to know that you always have 2 choices. You always have a choice in the matter. If you encounter adversity, the choice is always there for you. You can choose to let it beat you, or you can choose to work around it, okay? And so I just wanted to get this message out there because a lot of the people I speak to here on IG in the DMs, they're encountering their own physical challenges. They might have had surgeries, or they may have been told by a doctor that this would not be possible, or they may have experienced an injury on one particular limb and they're confused about whether they can still train and all the rest of it. I want you guys to know that I see this so frequently, okay? And what I've learned over the years, coaching and being an athlete myself, is there's not a single person out there with the physique that you want who isn't working around something. Okay, that is the fact, okay? There's not a single person out there who is not working around some kind of injury, constraint, illness, challenge, be it mental, psychological, physical, whatever, okay? Everybody's got their story. Everybody's working around hardship. The guys with the sick physiques, they're not there because they didn't have any bad luck on the way. They got there despite the bad luck that they encountered with injuries, with aches, with pains, with like mental health issues, you know. And I come back to that saying, okay, I really hold this dearly to heart, okay? The magnitude of what you achieve is directly correlated to the magnitude of obstacle you are willing to overcome. Let me say that again. The magnitude of what you achieve is directly correlated to the magnitude of the obstacle or adversity you are willing to overcome. So the guy who's built a $1 billion business, you better believe he's overcome extreme adversity. The guy with 200 pounds, 5% body fat, shredded abs, 20-inch arms, he's overcome extreme physical and psychological adversity, okay? The guy who's managed to find that perfect partner and forge a fantastic relationship, he's gone through shit once, yeah? So you see my point, guys. So whenever you encounter an injury, a challenge, a bump in the road, see it as a test. See it as a test of how much you really want this. Because to me as a coach, it's very telling. I get clients who nothing can stop them. I love that. Absolutely love that mentality. Nothing can stop them. They encounter problems, they encounter challenges, but they're keen to learn a workaround, and we work together. We do that together. We figure out a strategy and then they execute. And that's on them to execute. And then conversely, I work with some people who the smallest thing will knock them off. The smallest thing will knock them off course. And that to me communicates better than any words how much someone really wants something. And that's never a personal judgment. It's not for me to tell anybody how much they want anything. You know, that's not my place. But it does reveal what the real story is. You know, if you're looking to work around a problem, it's clear to me, it communicates very clearly to me that you are serious. If you're gonna just give in at the nearest first opportunity, you never wanted it, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. There may be a time down the line where you want it more. So there we are, guys. I just wanted to share that with you. The road to success, whatever you define success as, is never gonna be easy. It's gonna be laden with bumps, with challenges, with unpredictable occurrences. It's always going to be tough. And you better believe that the guys that you aspire to, they've dealt with some serious shit. And that's worth knowing because we're all in this together. You know, we all encounter the same problems. It's all part of the human condition. None of us are invincible. Yeah, I'm especially not. Despite the name Julian Titanium, which is supposedly indicative of being stronger than steel, I am certainly not invincible. I've had so many injuries, had so many challenges along the way, but we work through it, okay? We work through it, and you can do the same. So, guys, have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this was in some way insightful. I hope it encourages you to grab the bull by the horns today, to say fuck you to any of these injuries that stand in your way or are trying to stand in your way. I hope it stands as a fuck you to anybody who's told you ever that you can't achieve anything or something. You know, you are much stronger, you are much bigger, you are much more powerful than the challenges that you encounter. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, and we'll catch up soon.